Okay, so on this example, this one's kind of tricky. We're trying to take the limit as y goes to 6 of this function. Well, one good thing to do to start with is just to try to plug in the 6. It's not going to work this time, but sometimes it works, and it's great when it works. If you just plug in the 6 from the beginning, you'll get 6 cubed, which is 216. Calculator will tell you. And this is 7 times 6, which is 42 minus 42. So look, we're getting, oops, I'm getting a little scribbly here, 0 over 0. What does that mean? 0 over 0 is unclear. Whenever you get 0 over 0, that means you need to try something else because it's unclear. Remember that 0 in the top of a fraction, only in the top, would be 0. And 0 in the bottom of fraction, only in the bottom, would be infinity. Are you aware of those things? Let me make sure that's clear. Just think about if you take a normal fraction like 10 divided by 2, the answer is 5, as you know. Why? Because the bottom 2 goes into the top 10 5 times. That's what a fraction means, bottom into top. So that's why 0 over 3 is just 0, because the bottom goes into the top, 3 goes into 0, no times at all. And then that's also why 0 on the bottom is infinity. Why? Because how many times does the bottom go into the top? How many times does 0 go into 3? It goes in forever, infinity. So that's why this is unclear, 0 over 0, I should say, because 0 in the top usually means 0, and 0 in the bottom usually means infinity. This has both. So is it 0 or is it infinity or what is it? It's just unclear. We're not sure. So that means we need to try something else. Okay, so what are we going to try? Well, here's what I'm going to suggest you do first. Notice this denominator, you can take out a 7. Factor out a 7, and 7 times y, I'll go back, and then 7 times what? Well, it's 6. You can use your calculator if you're rusty. 7 times 6 will go back to 42. So I just factored the bottom. So this problem becomes the limit as y goes to 6 of y cubed minus 216 over. Now I'm going to have that 7 in the front there. Let me make a better line there. It's going to be 7 y minus 6. Okay. So now what do we do from here? Now let's take this part, basically everything other than the 7, and let's reduce that fraction. Let's simplify that fraction. How do we do that? Well, there's two ways to do it. We're going to long divide. Is basically what we're going to do, right? But like we were saying, bottom into the top. So I'm going to go y minus 6 goes into y cubed minus 216. Now, when we do the cube, we have to um, put a 0y squared. It just helps us. A 0y to the first, and then there's the minus 216. It's still just y cubed minus 216. These are just 0, but it's helpful when you're going to do division to see all the different powers. So any powers that are missing, that means there's 0 of those. So put that in to help. Now, I could do long division at this point. Polynomial long division is difficult. Let's do a shortcut. The shortcut is called synthetic division. You might have seen that before. Synthetic, like man-made, man-made division. And the way you do that's when the denominator is is just x to the first power, y or whatever, plus or minus a number. In other words, it can't be x squared. If the bottom was something like y squared or some higher power, then you couldn't do the shortcut. You'd have to do it the long way. But the denominator is just y to the first power, just y minus 6. So we can do the shortcut. How does the shortcut work? You take this number and you put it out here. Let me draw a nice. Oh, actually, you know what? I need more room. Let's bring it over here and we'll grab this and put it over here. It's plus 6. It's the opposite. So it was a minus 6 and I made it plus 6. If this had been a plus 6, I'd make that minus 6. You do the opposite. And then you bring the signs over. This is a 1, signs, the coefficients, I should say. The 1, the 0, the 0, and the minus 216. So it's like doing division without the letters. Okay, here's how it goes. You bring down the first number, and then you go like this. You go 6 times 1 is 6. Then you add these up, 6. And then 6 times 6 is 36. And you add these up, 36 and 0 is 36. And then 6 times 36, use your calculator if you need to. 216, add those up, 0. That's the remainder. And the other numbers are the coefficients. So this is 1. It's going to be y squared plus 6y plus 30. They're positive because, there's no negative signs there. How did I know it was started with y squared? Well, the original right here is y cubed, and we're dividing by y to the first power, so it's going to be y squared. So we just divided. Remember, I left the 7 out of it. The 7's still there. I haven't done anything with the 7 yet. I'll put it back in a minute. I just took the y cubed minus 216 and divided it by the y minus 6, and it became this answer. So now this means the problem has become the limit as y goes to 6. Now the 7 is still on the bottom. I'll put it down there. But now we have 1y squared plus 6y plus 36. That makes sense? This whole fraction, y cubed minus 216 over y minus 6, we divided the bottom into the top with synthetic division, and it became y squared plus 6y plus 36. Now, now we can just plug in the 6. Plug in the 6, plug in the 6. We don't, we, you might, by the way, you might wonder, should we factor this further? You could, but you don't need to. You can just plug in now. The whole reason we did any of this is because remember when we plugged in the first time, we got 0 over 0, which was unclear. Well, now it'll work. Plug in the 0, what are you going to get? You're going to get 0, 1 times 0 squared plus 6. What did I say 0? Not 0, 1 times 6 squared, huh? Plugging in 6. Let's try this again. 1 times 6 squared plus 6 times 6 is 36 all over 7. That's 36. It's 36. It's 36, a lot of 36s. All over 7. And that is 90 and 1808 over 7. Boom. There's our answer. There's what they got right there. So there we go. That's how we do it. So one more time, recapping. We begin by factoring the 7 out of the bottom. And we do that because we want to be able to do synthetic long division, which means you can't have any number on the y. We take this fraction, the y cubed minus 216 over y minus 6. We're going to long divide it, but we do it with synthetic division like this. We get this answer. So that's the top. The 7 has been just sitting there waiting for that division to be done. Then you can plug in the 6, and then it'll work, and you'll get your answer. And so there we go.